When we're studying the first 5 degrees of Taurus, we're studying the expression of power. Now, of course, all the 12 signs of the zodiac, each of the 360 degrees, have their own power. So what is it about Taurus that makes us think specifically about power? If you have the slightest intuition and you look at a bull in a field, you're not going to discuss or negotiate this question anymore. It's obviously powerful. It reeks of power. And it's just obvious from looking at it. There's this "you can't mess with me" attitude of a bull. And if you even think about entering its field, its domain, it will know that you're thinking about it. And it will present to you a good argument for not entering its field, just looking at you. This is a bull, a real physical animal. And the zodiac sign is not the animal, but they're well chosen, these labels. There is something about Taurus which is threatening. And it is said that they only ever blow up once in a lifetime, if then. And the reason for that is that you just don't want it. Nobody wants that. You don't want a bull charging at you. And the bull doesn't want to do it. It just wants to quietly eat grass. But this ability that Taurus has is just to have that potential for absolute rage. Somehow expresses itself in its atmosphere of being. And it's not something that you can negotiate with a bull. And of the 2 expressions of power, the one is holding your boundaries. If somebody's doing something and you don't want it to happen, you stop them. But Taurus has got that, no question. And of course, the other part of power is just doing what you want. And the same thing applies to Taurus. It just follows its desire nature. It's ruled by Venus. It knows all about desire. It is the epitome of desire. And if it desires something, then of course it has it. It's just not constrained by morality or social ideas about right behavior. It doesn't have to be. It just takes what it wants. Now, it can only get what it can be bothered to get. It's a bit slow on the hoof to get going. But once it is going, you don't stop it. You can't stop it. And if you think about the first degree of Taurus in this batch of 5 that we're considering, the mountain stream. Well, what is a mountain stream? It's a series of drops of rain that just congregate together and they follow the single imperative that they have, which is gravity. They are attracted to the ocean by the force of gravity. And there's nothing you can do to negotiate with that either. A mountain stream just does what it does. It just moves wherever it seeks to get closer to the object of its desire, which is the ocean. And that's like Taurus. It doesn't debate whether to go left or right. It just follows its feelings. It's a very deeply physical sign, the fixedness of it, the earthiness of it. It feels its way through situations. If it don't feel right, it's wrong. If it feels good, I'll do it. It's very, very simple-minded. And that's the mountain stream image, the essence of Taurus, the first degree of Taurus. Yeah, this is what I'm doing. You know, I don't need to explain anything, and I'm not going to change anything. I feel like doing it, therefore I am doing it. That's how I know what I feel. I just notice what I'm doing because that's what I'm feeling. There's no censorship going on. So that's the first degree, and then that makes for a lot of power. Just authenticity expressed spontaneously, immediately. There's no mediator between what you feel and what you do when you're a Taurus. Now, typically the second degree in any batch of 5 contrasts the first. And here we have the thunderstorm image. Lightning, loud noise. can you imagine how a bull in a field would respond to the loud noise of a thunderstorm and the lightning? It's absolutely unpredictable. It's terrifying. I mean, if a bull has power on Earth, it's nothing compared to the cosmic power of a thunderstorm. So it's not going to react well to that. That's going to stop it in its tracks, isn't it? And so you have this capacity that Taurus has to develop to assimilate thunderstorms, or its fundamental principle of quietly enjoying beauty is disturbed. So the second degree of Taurus is the ability it has to assimilate thunderstorms. And if you put a Taurus, strongly Taurus person in a situation which is thunderous, there's anger, there's new ideas, there's unsettling forces that disturb the status quo, when everybody else in the room is just going, oh my God, how can we cope with this, panicking, getting confused, Taurus is just quietly wondering what to do next. It takes in this raging storm into its being. It doesn't disturb it. I remember seeing a Taurus guy. He came up to us and he said, I'm really so very busy today. I've got 10,000 things to do, and he spoke as though he was in great stress. And then he walked away, and there was absolutely no difference in the way he walked when he was stressed out and in a hurry compared to how he was walking on a summer's picnic. You can't tell the difference. Taurus is really capable of assimilating thunderstorms, and equally they can respond with their full energy immediately. So this spontaneity in the mountain stream image, authenticity of spontaneous expression, when put into a thunderstorm, it does give the capacity for very loud noises and very bright illumination. This is enlightenment. This is the lightning flash from the cosmos. And spontaneity would do that for you. If you live your life entirely spontaneously and you're true to yourself in every moment, which is the image of the mountain stream, then you get enlightened. You get realization. You understand things, because why wouldn't you? You just do what you want to do, and the mystery of the world is unfolded to you. So the thunderstorm is both the power and the light, the cosmic light of realization. Those two things really go hand in hand. And to assimilate these two qualities, the third degree is this image of going up the steps to a lawn with clover. Very interesting image, this, because we're going up the steps. That's fighting against gravity. The mountain stream was going along with gravity, and now we're going against gravity. We're determined to push against our spontaneous urge just to do follow the line of least resistance. That's what the mountain stream is doing. And now you have exactly the opposite principle. And typically in the third degree of any expression, there's this attempt, an ability to reconcile the first two. So you have the line of least resistance, and then you have the enlightened principle of dealing with the storms in life, having that storm within you and knowing that it's part of you. So you've got these two things to try and reconcile. And the third force is that reconciliation, where the wild clover is a weed. It just grows wherever it wants. And the tamed lawn, you have to do a lot of work to keep a lawn looking in an orderly way. They're coexisting in this image. And it takes the effort to climb up, to move against inherent laziness of Taurus, inherent unwillingness to get going. You have to really push yourself against that inertia in order to achieve this balance between the wild and the tame, the clover and the manicured lawn. So we have the three forces here, the first 3 degrees of Taurus and of this expression of power, saying, I'm spontaneous and free, but there are cosmic forces that I need to assimilate, and I do that by working hard to balance the wildness and the overwhelming force of civilized life in my life. So that's the 3rd degree. And typically when you come to the 4th degree, you're looking for a method by which you can do that. And here we see the image of the rainbow's pot of gold. And this has to be interpreted as a methodology that we can actually visualize a rainbow. We can see 7 colors in a rainbow, and they're not there. That's an illusion, but we see 7 in the rainbow. And whenever you see the number 7 coming up in any mystical teaching, you're made aware of the presence of unworldly energy, magic, mystery, unicorns and elves. That's what the number 7 means. And here we have a rainbow indicating the number 7. And its function is to separate light from unity, white light, into the colors of diversity, the 7 colors of the rainbow. And the pot of gold is said to exist at the end of the rainbow. Of course it doesn't exist. It's a fanciful story. And it's gold, it's the symbol of wealth, abundance, spirituality in material form. When we represent the highest principles we have, the sacredness of marriage, a gold band, the crown of a king or a queen, a gold crown. We use the gold to symbolize the highest interpretation of materiality. Now, of course, in the case of Taurus, we have to consider the material question. It's an earth sign. It's very well able to manifest abundance. So we could look at this 4th mystery of Taurus as the capacity it has to create pots of gold, which it does have. But there's a higher form, and the methodology of the 4th degree of this expression is to do with wild imagination, taking the imagination beyond previous limits, which is, of course, what imagination can do. Most often we imagine that which is an echo, a re-echoing of something we've already experienced. True imagination, where we can just think of what if, that's creative. And that's what we're talking about here, creative imagination. The number 7, numerologically speaking, represents the principle of creativity in a way that the number 5 does not. The number 5, this is the number 5, and we got the thumb, and that makes us capable of creating things as a species. Dolphins, equal to us in intelligence perhaps, don't have a thumb. We do, so we get to be the dominant force on the planet through our creativity of that kind. That's the number 5. Now the number 7 is also about creativity, but it's not to do with having a thumb. It's to do with having a rainbow range of fantasy. We're fantasizing the 7 colors of the rainbow. And the number 7 is this fantastic creation. We've created this world of unicorns and elves and dwarves and mystery and magic. The Lord of the Rings is the perfect example of the number 7, made known to us, shall we say, in that form. And here we have the ability of Taurus to use that creative imagination without wanting it grounded. And this is difficult for Taurus. It's determination to climb the steps. That's hard work, but it's not difficult. It's what it does. We could go back in history to the age of Taurus, when oxen, real figures of Taurus, they were yoked in order to plough fields. All Taurus images, Now, that's what happens when civilization gets hold of Taurus. But if you're free of that, and the Sabian symbols are trying to free us of our constraints brought about by civilization's factoring of order and slavery and disciplining us not to be free. So the Sabian symbols are trying to release us from that. And in this fourth symbol, we get a sense of how Taurus can claim its real power. And its real power is not manifesting gold as such in terms of wealth and property and things that can be measured on balance sheets. That's its distorted expression in worldly terms. But the real expression of Taurus is the capacity to create an atmosphere of gold, which is what the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow. It's not real gold. It's a story. It's an atmosphere. It's when we see a rainbow, we're always like, wow, we're raised into this golden mood of joy. That's what a rainbow does. The fact that we've seen it 1,000 times before does not stop us from getting excited by the presence of something magical and mystical and ill-defined. And Taurus can believe in that. Despite its earthiness, it's actually quite capable of this Venus quality of rising above the mundane into a sense of beauty. Beauty is not mundane. Beauty is made up, it's mystical, it's imaginary, it's subjective. And Taurus, through its Venus connection, knows about that. So this counter-distinction between the earthiness of Taurus and the Venusian quality of beauty is constantly at play within the mystery of the sign. And this is what gives it its power. True power is not dominance. That's only part of it. We can dominate if we want to. It's not the true power though. The true power is balance, is when we can balance two opposing principles. And we've looked at that constantly throughout this image. The downward thrust of the mountain stream and the upward movement of the steps in the third degree. The tranquility of the mountain stream and the thunderstorm in Taurus 2. And here we have Taurus 4, where the rainbow's fantasy, mystery and magic and so on, and the pot of gold, they're in juxtaposition. And Taurus can handle that sense of two things at the same time. And therein lies its power. The final image is in any expression is the progression. This is the transformative energy that moves us from where we were at the beginning of the expression to where we are now, leading to the next expression. So the fifth degree is the widow at the open grave, and what she's having to come to terms with is the irrefutability of death. Sometimes changes can occur in the world, and Taurus therefore will change them if it chooses to. What can be changed, Taurus can change. That's what power is. But another aspect of power, again this balancing between two opposites, is what we can't change. If you can't change it, you've got no choice but to accept it, which kind of means internalizing the change. We have to change something within ourselves. And here we have the widow, who was once a wife who loved her husband, and now she's not. She has to be a widow now. She has to go through that transformation. And there's no negotiation. You have to do some things in life. So this is the fifth mystery of Taurus and what cements its power. When push comes to shove and Taurus has shoved all it can and it still doesn't move the immovable, then its ability just to say, well, and let it go is quite pronounced. This joke is often said about Taurus that they can be very lazy, which is true, and they can also be extraordinarily hard-working. But this laziness is not really different from the capacity we have to just surrender to the inner feelings that we have, the physical feelings we have of a certain mood. And when we surrender to that mood, no, I'm not moving, that seems to be laziness. But it's just obedience to the physical feeling of not wanting to move right now. And the widow has to understand that she needs to do that. She's got no choice. She can't bring her husband back. All she can do is to change within and to learn how to deal with loss. Now, of course, we're moving to areas of great poignancy here. Anyone who has actually lost a beloved, a partner or a friend, a child even, you can't talk to them about what they need to do. They're grieving, and that's what they're doing, and there's no discussing that. But to move out of that, to move out of any loss, you might have lost your home or your job or your reputation or some standing in life. If you lose anything after the period of grieving, and that's to be recommended, you need to feel the feelings. And you will find, once you have deepened your sense of how profound your grief is, it starts to bubble up. It starts to move a little bit and just dissipate. Once you've given it its full respect, it just bubbles away eventually. It takes time, but then you recognize that you can let go. You can start to realize that you can let go of this one day, and that day is coming closer and closer, maybe slowly, but it's coming. And that acceptance that it's not nice now, it's not at all nice, it's really horrible now, but there's an end to it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. This ability stoically to hold on to unpleasantness, deep unpleasantness indeed, but knowing fully that as long as you hold on in there, everything will eventually work out. This is the fifth mystery. So, power, the ability to be spontaneous and authentic, to assimilate thunderstorms, to find a balance between that, to work to balance the wild and the disciplined, to imagine beyond the mundane into the mystical realms, and to accept what cannot be changed. That formula adds up to a very powerful mindset for life.